looked at the quiz, you have the basics of DNA replication and of mutations. So we figured out what can go wrong in the system. But what we still don't actually know is what we're building. Like, what does the DNA actually do? Okay, so I've got this stuff, right? It's in a cell, right? Woohoo! Bacteria have it in their cell. You've got it in your cell in the nucleus. What does it do? What are we building? And don't you dare say the thing you've learned since, like, when do you learn this? 4th grade? DNA is the blueprint for living things.
I've never said that.
Really? Have you said DNA is the instructions for living things?
Nope.
Really?
I've never learned DNA.
You've never learned anything about DNA?
No.
Really?
Really?
Aww. Aww. No, this is where you get all your, oh, that's cool. So you don't have any background on this. I didn't realize that. For some reason, I thought that you knew that somewhere.
No.
Okay, well, good. Good. Okay, we're starting off from scratch. Hi, come on in.
Welcome
So
back.
then the big question that we're dealing with today, we're actually really going to kind of deal with 2 of them, is these 2. What does DNA actually do? And how can a chemical be a blueprint? Oh, did we leave calculators scattered all over the place? Thank you.
Chemistry.
Physics, actually. What does it actually do? So we've got this big molecule. It's in every cell in your body. It's in every cell in this beautiful lavender plant. It's in a bacterial cell. What does it do? What does it actually do? Provides a blueprint for, well, but what does that mean? How can a chemical be a blueprint? What's actually getting built? Because you remember yesterday we said, well, what happens when there's a mutation? Hey, what happens when there's a mutation? And we said, well, sometimes, well, there's a change in DNA, but what does that mean for you or me? Like, do I have mutations? We actually looked this up in 6th period. I forgot to look it up for you guys. I meant to. Do you know how many? So here's the question I have for you. Are you making mistakes right now?
Yes.
Are you making mistakes right now?
No.
Are you making mistakes? Yes, you are. You're making about 120,000 of them every few seconds.
Why?
That's the mutation rate. So every time so for every round of cell division, I had to look this up yesterday. There are approximately 120,000 mistakes. 120,000 mistakes? Are you making mistakes right now? You bet you are. I'm making about 120,000 of them every few seconds. Well, how come we don't all have horns or wings or glow in the dark?
Evolution.
No, that's a big answer. We want details. Because you spell check.
Yeah, all the time.
Your cells are making like 120,000 mistakes every time they reproduce. But there's a mechanism that comes along that checks for mistakes. Duh. Do you check your work?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I check my work. Some mistakes get through. You're making tons of mistakes. Cells make tons of mistakes. But you catch a lot of them. They get corrected. So we said that if a mistake gets through, if a mistake doesn't get caught, doesn't get corrected, these are going to be notes, so you're probably going to want to, if you're just like randomly cruising the internet, you probably want to stop that. If that mistake doesn't get caught, we said, well, what happens? What are the 3 things that can happen from a mutation? Ooh, we talked about this. Well, it is a mistake. We said it could be bad. It could be negative, like cancer. Yeah, they could die. It could be a negative outcome. What's another mistake that could happen, or another outcome from an error? No, we said it could be bad. We said it could be bad.
Good.
It could be good.
Good.
You could have an accident and become a bacteria who has a thicker cell wall. You could have 12 fingers. And you could play piano pieces written for only you. What's the other possible outcome of a mutation that slips through, that doesn't get corrected? Nothing changes. Okay, so I've got you. You're an organism. You're an individual organism. Is the heart a cell? Well, the heart and the lungs are organs. When we put organs together, so we have an organism. No.
Cells.
Well, yeah, but are cells the first thing we would encounter if we were to open up an earthworm? So we say that organisms, well, they're made up of organ systems.
Am I right?
You're not totally wrong.
What was the answer you were looking for?
Organ systems.
Well, what is that?
So if you said organs, you're getting there. Well, guess what organ systems are made up of? Organs! And I'm going to borrow my little made up of here. Copy. Paste. Can I not even spell organs today? Apparently I cannot. Okay, so organisms are made up of organ systems. Organ systems are made up of organs. Organs are made up of tissue that are made up of, oh, quit just repeating organs, will you? That are made up of cells.
Everything comes back.
Guess what cells are made of?
DNA.
Nope.
Made up of blood.
Cells are made up of proteins.
Protein. That big old list.
You know what proteins are made of? Oh, good Lord, it goes further?
Cells.
Fat. No.
DNA.
No.
DNA.
Proteins are made of a smaller unit too. Well, everything is made of atoms. You're right. That's the absolute smallest we can go, but you skipped a bunch of steps, bud. So we've got you, and we can keep zooming in. Proteins are really the thing that DNA is building. So protein is built from DNA instructions. And then there are instructions for how to put those proteins together to make cells and how to make organs, tissues and organ systems. And, you know, so when we say that DNA is the blueprint for living things, it's really actually just the blueprint for protein. But we can make stuff out of protein. So what you've got right now is a little video. It linked. It's in PlayPosit. This is the first PlayPosit you've watched for me, I think. Has anybody watched a PlayPosit video before? It's an app that I use. I can put any video from YouTube into PlayPosit, and it shows me how much of it you've watched, and I can put questions in the video, so it'll stop every so often. You have to answer a question to keep going, and then I can see if you answered the questions correctly or not. And so I can, sometimes I'll do this if I know that I'm going to have to be out for a day. I'll give you some PlayPosits, because then I can track. I used to just, I would assign a video with a viewing guide. Well, I don't know if you actually watched it. And now I do, because I can see on PlayPosit whether you watched it or not. So a video just posted to Classroom a little while ago through PlayPosit. So I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 minutes. It's a 9-minute video, so it may take you up to 15 by the time you get through the stops. You do need to log in with Google, because that's your school ID.